Good morning. So I blew my dignified entrance. Hello, good morning. Why start now, right? Anyway, welcome everyone to Unity Naperville. Unity in Naperville is one of my favorite places to be any day of the week, particularly on Sunday. And being up here is really such an honor. For those of you who came in a little later, Reverend Kitty is off on a very well-intended and needed sabbatical. I hate to say it's kind of getting away from all of us to refuel so that she can come back and take us all on, because we're a bit formidable. We're a pretty wonderful group of people. One of the things I like to do is to start off, and those of you who are online, if there's anyone in the room with you, I just invite you to turn to your neighbors, friends, and just say good morning and namaste, which means the divine in me honors and recognizes the divine in you. Say, take a moment. On Monday mornings, I almost always start off our time together with that affirmation of namaste. And we say we honor that place within us where the entire universe resides. We honor that place within us of love, of light, of truth, and peace. And then we add, and we honor the power within each and every one of us, beginning with ourselves, to know the indwelling divinity and the indwelling divinity in all others everywhere, to which I also always add, with no exception. So we're all one in this one mind. So my talk title has changed. The course of my talk has changed a lot through the week, kind of woof and warped as life went on. And actually what I've landed on, today's talk is going to be called The Power of Love. So we're going to talk about that in a kind of circuitous way, because there seems to be like an elephant in the room almost anywhere where you go in the Midwest right now. It's called cicada. It's actually not like that. It's called cicada. And for those of you who aren't in the Midwest and are watching this online from anywhere else, you're just going to have to play along and imagine what it's like to be here in the Midwest in this really remarkable time of history. I'm going to tell you about cicadas today. We're going to have a little fun with that. But first and foremost, I want to know, just even in the smallest of ways, by raising of hands, how many of you are just a little bit, pardon the pun, bugged? Or am I the only one here? Oh, come on. Oh, get over it. Oh, yeah, right. How many of you are not telling the truth? So, I have found that the more I know about something, the more not only tolerant, and this is true not only about things, but about people. So remember, we're going to be doing some metaphorical things here today. But I have found that the more I feel distance from something and don't understand it, but it breaks into my daily pattern and annoys me, that I have some intolerance on that. But I have also found that when I get to know more and more about something, a subject, in this case we're going to know a lot more about cicadas by the end of this talk than you did maybe when you came in. Not only have I found that I grow tolerance, but I also grow a sense of inclusion. And for those of us who are in New Thought, this is called New Thought, it's also called New Thought, Ancient Wisdom. For those of us who are in New Thought, the work we are always doing is working on making the circle bigger. True, that's why we're called unity. And we keep encouraging and including more inclusion to build the circle bigger and bigger. So we're going to talk today about the cicadas because this is an amazing time in the history of the insect kingdom. I want you to know that right now in 2024, what's happening all over the Midwest is we have two different broods of cicadas that are emerging, and you've probably seen a couple of 1,000 or 1,000,000 of them by now. Your dogs have probably eaten a few, but they've been coming out of the earth together for the very first time since 1803. Putting that in perspective, Thomas Jefferson was in office in 1803. So he will not be emerging, but the cicadas are coming. And this isn't going to happen again for like another 221 years, I think it is. So this is a momentous event And, you know, in nature, the beautiful thing, and this is going to sound funny, but the beautiful thing about nature is it's natural. It's not, I won't even call it normal, because in my vernacular, normal is referring to a social construct, things that we think of as normal. But nature is natural. It's following a divine pattern. And the more we can kind of tune into that, I think what we can experience over the next probably about 6 weeks or something of these cicadas is perhaps to transform that which was annoying, bothersome, and not so much fun into something that can really be a holy encounter. Are you willing to entertain that possibility? So you know there's a trillion of these little dudes that are coming out of the ground right now, and if you've been around any tree, you've probably seen them. Is there anybody in the room that has not seen a cicada? Okay, you got to get to the Arboretum. You will be introduced not only to red-eyed, but blue-eyed cicadas. The blue-eyed cicadas, the Frank Sinatras have arrived. You know, and the other part that's really hopeful is that what part of their whole itinerary here is to, you know, reproduce while they're here. And the females, every one of these females is capable of producing up to 500 eggs. And boy, are those cicadas tired. So anyway, some of us think they're annoying. Some of us think they're deplorable. Some of them are fascinated. I know I encountered cicadas 17 years ago when I was a new minister, had just come here from California, hadn't even ever heard the word before, and got home from my service one day wearing a pair of my Chico stretchy pants. And I was upstairs and getting changed, and all of a sudden I heard this buzzing, and I thought it was a buzzsaw downstairs. It was a cicada inside my pant leg. Yeah, you know, you did the ooh, so you know what I felt. One of my minister friends wrote from Nashville not too long ago. When they first showed up in Nashville, she said in her Facebook, she said, situation. Balancing carrying a large lunch takeout bag, a drink, my purse, a call I have to take, and 2 cicadas fly into my face. So you know, there's just these degrees of learning how to get along with the cicadas. But one of the things I want to mention is, you know, as we go through this period where you may find, as I did when I went to sit down the other day, crossed my leg and saw one laying on my pant leg, I was cool with that because it was outside my pants. But you begin to say that we're going to have to get along with these guys, and they're going to have to get along with us because they're here to stay for a couple of months. You know, I know. Oh, good, I've got a few, okay. Me. And you know, you go up to them, you go, welcome to Earth. I mean, they're so strange, really. They're beautiful, but they're strange. I kind of wore my iridescent so you could see their wings. So here's the thing about cicadas as you can correlate with life. You may have heard this in this room once or twice or 200 times, but you cannot always change your circumstances. What you can change is your relationship and your position to your circumstances. And all of that is a consciousness thing. This isn't about proximity. Yes, you can move yourself away from them. You know, the sound is very loud. You can put on earphones. You can do all kinds of things. But the key to really being able to be master of the game in life is to really know that circumstances are always going to happen. The key is, what do we want to do about them? And that's the part about unity that I think is very intriguing, and it's the tough work. You know, it's working against the weight of our resistance. You know, the weight of what we wanted it to be and how we wanted it to be. It's being what it's being. And we are the ones who give meaning to it. And sometimes when we have circumstances in our life, anybody understand this one, may not be one you really liked. And sometimes you have a relationship with that is resistant, and it may cause some suffering, a little bit of difficulty. You know, in Monday morning metaphysics, a lot of us know we rename things because when you give something a name, you give it a nature. It becomes that to you. So we talk about, for example, having a problem. And if you think about the word problem, there's weight and there's a vibration of energy because all words have energy and vibration. And they are going to be to us the way we perceive them. So what we have joyfully done is we remind each other when we're in Monday morning metaphysics and somebody brings up the idea of a problem, we invite them to say, hey, what if you change that word to I have a project to resolve, as opposed to I have a problem to figure out. Because having something that's a project, what it's doing here, and the same thing now, think about when you're hanging out with those cicadas after we get out of here, is when you think about something and you're intrigued by it as opposed to repelled by it, it's going to bring you into a state of curiosity. Now, one of the things I'm a real bookie on this work by Dr. David Hawkins. It's called Power versus Force, and you've probably heard me talk about this, the big map of consciousness, where he calibrated the consciousness of humanity from the basis 0 to 1,000, which is the avatar that's still barely able to even be in a body because the energy is so high. And everything calibrates up and down on this scale of consciousness. The cool thing about it is if you can just adapt a spiritual practice of staying open-eyed and curious. Because it's not, and I always say, forget the cat. We know what that did to the cat. Curiosity did that to the cat. But for us, what it does is it takes us up in our energy, up and above level 200 on the scale. And that breaking point of 200 is where we move into degrees of truth, out of falsehood, and into contributive consciousness. So what's this thing about consciousness? Well, consciousness is everything. We all are conscious. We're all points of consciousness. We are all one with the mighty mind. In antiquity, it was said that God is an infinite sphere whose circumference is nowhere and whose center is everywhere. To me, I think about that, all of us sitting on our GOD, Gives on Demand computers, like we're sitting at our own terminal, and we're in control of our own terminal, and we're telling the terminal what we want to know, and we're hitting go, and it's coming back to us as we believe. We've heard this, right? So it's part of what we're working on in this consciousness game is, what do we want to believe? What do we want to believe in? And of course, there's a lot of noise. It's above and beyond the static of the cicadas right now that's going on the airwaves, because you might have heard there's this thing called an election that's going to be happening in November. A couple of you might have heard about this, right? And you can feel some of the energy that's building, not unlike the energy of the sounds of the cicadas when they rise and they rise, because they rise and they rise. Let me share with you about cicadas, because they have a purpose. And I heard a scientific statement the other day when talking about them that said, every living thing has a reason for existing. Every living thing has a niche to fill, a role to play, a purpose to fulfill. So what is the meaning of a cicada's life? Why are they here? They're just here to bug us, rudimentarily and physically? No, they're here because they're part of a magnificent order. And there's an aphorism that says, order is heaven's first law. There's a divine order to these cicadas. There's no accident. This is a conspiracy of good that's happening right now between these two broods coming together at this particular time, in this particular way. Cicadas do things such as soil aeration. They come after all those 17 years of being in the ground, they come up out through the soil, leaving little holes, which, by the way, your gardener will probably tell you is a good thing for your soil. And they come up and they aerate the soil. They begin to climb onto the trees. They don't hurt the trees, but what they do is if there's weak branches, they will actually help the weak branches to basically die off and fall. And so they basically are pruning trees while they're going up and doing their thing. They're good food for the dogs. I know a few of you, and I know of some of our neighbors. Some of our neighbors say the dogs aren't even eating their dog food anymore because they're so full of the cicadas. I know, ew. And you probably have seen recipes, and and they're good. They're good for all sorts of things. Sometimes the scream itself can allow you to feel like you have access to it too. So if you feel like you need to, you can scream. We have a slide on that somewhere. Go ahead. You want to. Ah! And then, of course, they do have a palliative effect. What is that one? There it is. Cicada's my emotional support animal. See, it screams, so I don't have to. They do a lot of things. They invoke curiosity. They're wonderful, nutritional. They're doing a lot of things that we're still discovering. And it's a fascinating cycle. So what is this scream thing that's going on with these guys? You know what it is? It is the mate whose body is hollow, and it's screaming for love. It's screaming to attract its love to it. And when they all come together and they begin screaming, it's like the sound, it's like this cacophony of love. Because all they want to do is find their other and mate and produce so that they can go on and survive and thrive. Because literally, I don't know about you, I don't think I want to go under the ground and try to live there for 17 years. But this seems to be the way of the cicada, and there seems to be a beautiful, natural order for it. So I got to thinking about, we're so busy. I was so busy this week going, okay, so what's the purpose of cicada? What are some things I can tell you? You may know, you may not know, couch them differently or whatever. But I wanted to kind of know, what is their purpose? Because they're part of divinity. An encounter with a cicada, if you're willing to allow yourself to know it, is a holy encounter. Even my 7-year-old granddaughter, who's very aversive to bugs, has gotten really into them. She doesn't want to touch them, but she'll get sticks and help turn them over if they're laying on their back, and you've probably seen about 100 million of those doing that, and try to get them up and help them fly and just get through the oddness of it so that they can become embraced. And then, give them names. They actually, at our kids' school, they have a cicada hospital. I don't know who's on deck for the hospital, but... So anyway, I began to think about this, and I began to think, I'm busy asking what is the purpose of a cicada this week. And, it might be interesting to go a little further and go, so let's expand that. And if everything has a purpose and a plan and a reason, and there's no redundancy in spirit, what is my purpose? And what am I serving? And how am I contributing, not only intentionally, but perhaps unintentionally in ways I wasn't even aware of? So Michael and I were on vacation. We were in Kentucky last week. And we had lots of time on our hands because it was bad weather, bad from the standpoint we couldn't go out and play. So we stayed inside and played. And one of the things I like to play with is my Siri. And I don't know the last time any of you did this, but it is kind of humorous at times. If you want to know what the meaning of life is, ask Siri. Anybody ever done that? Well, I did it through the week. So I want to share with you some of the things that Siri told me are the meaning of life. I think you'll enjoy them. Her first answer when I asked her on the first day was, I said, Siri, what's the meaning of life? And she said, well, one possibility is that humans were put on Earth to invent the unicycle. And she says, in which case, the pressure is off. The next time I asked her, she said, well, maybe it has to do with that instinct to poke something unknown and ask, what is it? I think we all want to do that. Another time when I asked Siri, what's the meaning of life? She said, well, if you're alive, that means you're part of the infinitesimally small percentage of matter in the universe that has the ability to be curious and explore and learn. My guess is you're supposed to use that gift. Well, hello. Thank you, Siri, a wise one. And one of the last times I asked her, she said, well, maybe it's about noticing everything like you're experiencing it for the very first time. That helps the beautiful, strange, and exciting things shine through even in the dullest moments. Like childlike eyes, right? That sense of wonder. Why, when was the last time we had wide-eyed wonder? We're right at the start of summer. This is like, day 2 of June? And we're just poised and ready to leap into this particular summer. Why don't we do it with wide-eyed wonder like children do? Go look at the wings of a cicada. Go be fascinated with the cycle of life. And then to realize that there's nothing separate in the nature of wholeness, because a holy encounter is an encounter with wholeness. So we're not separate from cicadas. We're not separate from politicians. We're not separate from world events. We're not separate from any of these things. What we are is one with them. And the reactions that we have to them are what we have the ability to work on so that our lives are given greater and greater meaning, because there is innately in each and every one of us an absolute reason for being. And sometimes it's just to find out what that is. Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, makes a statement. He says, to those who can practice perfect inaction, all things are possible. And I remember I thought that conundrum really kind of confused me when I first heard that. But what he wasn't saying is to be passive and inactive. What he was really saying is wait upon the Lord. And, the word Lord, if you take the word Lord into the science of spirituality, you can replace it with the word law. Wait upon the law. Ask the question and then wait upon the law for the download of the answer rather than trying to figure it out. To take a project, not a problem, and then wait upon the law to download, give the divine download of what is mine to do. And once we kind of discern that thing, what is mine to do, then to have the courage and the willingness to go do that thing. Have you ever heard the expression that every snowflake in an avalanche had an alibi? So which direction of the avalanche do we want to be on, right? Do we want an avalanche of good, or what do we want? When I first started thinking about this talk, Power of Love, it was really intended to be about a wave, and I'm tying this into the undulating sounds, the waves of the cicada. And one of the things, if you haven't done this already, I really encourage you to go out when it's really warm, it has to be pretty warm, to go out there and sit down at dusk and just let your ears be filled with this undulating, amazing drone that you can't even describe. And if you listen well, you can actually hear the two levels of the two types of cicadas intersecting and interacting, and it's a marvel. I'm getting God bumps thinking about it. There's actually, one of their values of cicadas is they have inspired songs. And I bet you we're going to hear some after this season. But what I wanted to bring to you was a moment that I had, and let you have the experience of it too, about the idea, the power of one and the power of love. Back in 1984, I used to live in California, Southern California, and we had the Olympics come to Southern California. And during that period, they were doing all the games all over the different venues, and one of the venues that they used in Southern California was our Dodger Stadium down in Chavez Ravine near Los Angeles Center. And I didn't get to go to really too many of the Olympic events, really, but after that event, I think it was within one or two games of having been at having the Olympics be there, the Dodgers were playing at Chavez Ravine. And I don't go to the baseball game very often, so when I go, it's a big old thing, and I really depend on them to win. I don't know about the rest of you. But I have had a track record of going to games, and sometimes they don't always live up to my wanting them to win. So we went to Dodger Stadium this particular time, and in Dodger Stadium, I'm trying to remember if I've had it in my notes somewhere, Dodger Stadium can hold up to 56,000 people, so it's no small thing. It's a big oval stadium. So anyway, we're sitting there, and we're watching the game, and it's just a dismal game. It's one of those where you're looking at your watch and you're going, if we leave at when they're going to start singing, take me out to the ball game, and I'm going to go, I'm taking me out of the ball game. I'm going to go get my car and get out of here before the crowd, right? And so we're feeling not happy about the fact that the game is not going well. And the second half of the game starts, and you don't know from where it comes, but has anyone here ever been in the wave? Been in a wave? You don't know when it starts. Who started that wave? But all of a sudden, and this is the very first time we'd ever done it, to my knowledge, in Dodger Stadium, and all of a sudden, this packed stadium, there's this rippling of people standing up and roaring like cicadas and then coming back down. And it just goes all the way around, and it keeps going all the way around, and you're waiting. You want to be part of the wave, and up you go. So let's try it over here. Okay, stand as you're able. Okay, and you stand up and you roar like a cicada. Okay, Kevin? Okay, start it, Kevin. Okay, everybody, go stand up. All of you, come on, follow him. You go, roar! Okay, and back to you, Kevin. Roar! Roar! Do you feel, even just here, do you feel the energy? Do you feel that energy? And it's your energy, right? But it's a collective energy. Isn't that cool? So I started thinking about this, like when I was waiting, I know you guys were too, waiting for the cicadas. They're coming. It's all over the news. You got everything, you even have recipes for popcorn cicada showing up in the, you've got all this going on, but we're waiting for the first cicada. And one day there it was. Cicada. I just heard the sound of cicada. And then all of a sudden it's like, right? But what was the first cicada to pop its little head out and start shedding that ectoskeleton and getting on with its business of finding true love? You know, somewhere, somehow, there is that one. And you know what's really cool? We're all that one. We're all the one when we make the decision to be the one. Sound is really important. Words are really important. The way we think about what we think about is important because we're part of one mighty mind. And I want to share, I have a friend, Reverend Dr. Melissa Higginbotham, wrote a book called Voicing the Sound Eternal. And she wrote, sound is consciousness, and it also is a carrier for consciousness. And then she said, whatever I am thinking or feeling goes out on the sound I emanate silently, or even not so silently. And I carry who I am in every moment. And that consciousness radiates out to all with whom I come in contact. We're all rippling this energy. We're all overlapping, rippling energy. And what energy are we rippling to each other? She goes on and she said, in sound and consciousness, we have what I call unheard sound. It is sound coming in on a frequency that we do not have the audio receptors to hear, yet we can often just feel or sense it. And it reminded me when I read that of that old expression you may have heard. Who you are is speaking so loudly I can't hear what you're saying. We all are emanating who we are. We're broadcasting it everywhere we go. How we think about what we think about, the choices that we make, how we open or close our hearts, the kindness that we feel, the judgments we dispense so easily sometimes. We all do it. You know, I know you do it because I know me and I know our mind. But I also know that the work we do here, and it is work, it's hard work to rise up and at least get our vibration up away from judgment into the level of curiosity and even go higher than that into reverence. The reverence of life, the reverence of this magnificent one mind of which we are a part, of which we are individuations and individualizations, all of us a point of this one universe. And to realize that we are the power of one and we so matter. So I'm going to end off and then we're going to do a meditation. So I want to mention that while we cannot always change the circumstances, remember, we can always change our relationship and how we react to them. And we can always put our headphones on to tune out noise if we want, cicadas, current events, politics, disharmony, whatever, and with intention and purpose and the power of decision, make it ours to tune into the power of love. So I'm going to leave you with a meditation with my darling Reverend Michael, and I want you to go out into your week, if you're so willing, and just know that the sound of the cicada is nothing more than a love song, and tune in. Love you guys. Have a great week.
Let's just take a moment now to just breathe in this wonderful idea, this vibration, this expression of life that we just enter into and enter into every moment of every day. That as I know right now, these ideas are already part of this one quantum field of infinite possibility, that I've tuned into it today. And as I speak this I am for myself, know that same I am for yourself, that I am that expression of all life. I am one with this infinite intelligence, always have been, always will be. So I let this knowingness move through me today, accepting that I truly am open to love. I'm open to receiving love. I'm open to giving love. And I'm open in every way to express the wonderful power, presence, and intelligence of the universe moving through me. I am truly, truly, truly blessed in this. Today I know that God is good all the time. And that which I need to know is always present to me as I need to know it. I let myself enter into this wave of infinite possibility. We call this the human wave, but it's more than that. It's a quantum wave of infinite possibility, that as soon as I pay attention to that which I desire and turning it over to the law, Spirit always says yes and brings into my life this wonderful expression of good from infinite channels that show up all around me. I am so blessed to know this, so grateful for this beautiful day, and so grateful for all the good in my life. I take it in, I use it, I give it back, and I release this word to Spirit right here and now, saying, thank you, God. I let it be so by saying, and so it is. Amen.